We're looking at the GDP rebasing, and of course, the National Bureau of Statistics is saying that they want to rebase the GDP to get the accurate economic data for Nigeria. Of course, the Statistician-General also talking about Semiu Adeyemi. He said, of course, the rebasing also aligned with the United Nations fundamental principles of official statistics as well. Of course, a lot of issues with regards to rebasing of GDP. The reaction on the street are not really tilting towards that. Favoring the rebasing of the GDP. We also look at the issue around the BRICS. Of course, what is the importance of Nigeria being a member? Joining BRICS as a partner country. We'll look at that as well in the course of our discussion. Let me bring in my guest. My guest is Dr. Sam Omale. Dr. Sam Omale is the president, CEO, Rock Global Investment Network. He joins me virtually from London. Good morning, Dr. Omale. Hello, Dr. Omale. Can you hear me, Dr. Omale? Okay, Dr. Omale, if you can hear me, let's get your reaction. What came to your mind when the issue of rebasing of the GDP came to the front burner?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead. I was asking a question. The issue of GDP rebasing.
Yes.
How does it come to you when that issue came to the front burner?
No, rebasing is it's actually something that should be done frequently. In fact, five years. And what rebasing does is to give you a realistic state of your economy, because rebasing just means changing the date in which you base the calculation of your GDP or other econometric metrics like inflation. For example, the current year that they were using 2010, which was arrived when the last time that we did rebasing, which was 2014. So the ongoing process has chosen 2019. So it implies that the price and weight structure upon which the national GDP is measured is going to be forwarded will be based on 2019, because things change, prices change, depressions no take place. For example, the activities of COVID changed so many things. So many new businesses had come in. So rebasing is a process of updating the base year used to calculate any of the econometric matrices. So why is it important is because it will give you your realistic economic state. For example, if you bought a house 10 years ago and you want to give it as a collateral, you're not going to give the collateral based upon the price of 10 years ago. You're going to revalue your estate, your house, at this year. So that is the simplistic way of explaining it. So you now say the price of my house is at today's current, which maybe 20 million, if it was 10 million 10 years ago. So rebasing simply means, instead of using the statistics of 2000 whatever, let's use 2019 to form the basis of our decision. So it involves calculating the GDP figures using current prices and weights rather than those that are older base. And now, like I said, it's an international convention, which is normally is recommended to be done after 5 years.
All right.
Well, so what is significance?
Okay, Doctor. Barring any last-minute changes, we are expected to have the launching of that rebasing, talking about the CPI and of course the GDP. We are expected to have that report before the end of this month, which is a few days away. What statistics do you expect? Do you expect Nigeria to become the largest economy in Africa, like we were when we did the rebasing in 2013 under the Jonathan government?
You see, there's a whole misconception of this largest or not largest. Rebasing can be either way. You can reduce your economy, you can enhance it. But let us not confuse economic growth, which is increase in your GDP, to economic welfare. So you can say your economy has overtaken. There are two things to consider. GDP that measures your your total production consumption within a year is different from per capita income. So you can have a great GDP, but your per capita income, if it's low, does not make sense. So let's not worry ourselves with whether we're going to overtake South Africa or not. The reality is, what is our production level? What is our consumption level? And what's our trade? Three things that we consider: production, consumption, and trade. So as long as we're not producing and we're consuming, you can measure, you can name the amount, or you can say your currency or your economy is great, but are you producing? So the reality is what is on the ground. We call it real economy, not the nomadic. Because to have the normal, the real economy and the one that is just based upon hearsay. So I'm not excited about whether it's going to be greater or not.
The largest or not. You mentioned something that is very, very important. You talk about the welfare economy, talking about having an economy that touches the lives of every Nigerian, rather than this rhetoric of becoming the largest economy in Africa, where the larger population of the people are living in abject poverty. 113 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. And here is the government focusing on, reclaiming the status, in quotes, as the largest economy in Africa.
No, it's a myth. If I can just demonstrate a little bit, GDP represents the total value of all the goods and services produced within an economy. Now, an economic growth occurs when GDP exceeds the previous year, but that is it. But the real economic growth adjusts for prices and changes, providing a more accurate view of actual increase in goods and services. Now, GDP per capita is what should be important to us. Nigeria is 200 million. So if our GDP is much, divided by 200 million, you're going to get what an individual person gets. But South Africa GDP can be less, but because of a lesser population, their per capita income will be higher. And so, look, GDP does not tell you the welfare of the people. 2%, 3% of people can account for GDP, but the 80% are languishing in poverty. So we should look more for economic development. Economic development is different from economic growth. Growth is only in numbers. Development has to deal with the human development index, health, education, those areas. That's what actually real economic development is. We should not confuse economic development with economic growth. Figures can be fabricated to make you look as if you're growing. But the reality on ground is that there's food inflation, there's unemployment, there's high inflation, there's so much sorrow going on. So Nigeria should concentrate more on how can we improve the economy. How can we improve? And we do that by creating, as we're going to discuss maybe later, your competitive edge by putting in place things that will improve the economy, which means production. How do you produce when you don't have the infrastructure? How do you move forward when the institutions that make up the economy are weak? Judiciary, law enforcement, institutions that are put in place, are they functional? Are they efficient? So these are the things we should look for, not just putting figures. Politicians can put figures on anything, but the reality is on ground. Develop the economy, not grow the economy, if you know what I mean. Economic growth is just numbers. If your GDP increases, and it can only be due to things, and GDP, by the way, is calculated in three ways. There's input, there's output, and there are ways of calculating the GDP. So any way you want, politicians you can calculate it for them to be happy. But the reality is, has it improved the welfare? Economic development is total welfare of the people.
Of the people, indeed, which is very key. Do you see this as a distraction? Like you talked about now, we should look at our competitive edge. What do we think? What can we do better than the rest of our neighbors. We have, I mean, a country that is bounded by a lot of countries. We are one of the biggest in West Africa, if not the Africa as a whole. What can we do better? Why can't we focus in those areas? I understand that we have oil, but there's more that we can do than just exporting crude oil and any revenue.
You cannot tell the reality. Can't tell you're asking me, what can we do better? They are the simple things. Number one, know where you are, know who you are and where you are. In my place, there's a proverb that says a bird starts to walk before flying. In fact, they put it in a sarcastic way. The bird has not learned how to walk and is trying to fly. In every economic growth, there are 5 stages. I've been saying this over and over. There are 5 stages, and you have to know where you are at any point in time. There's a traditional society where everything is rudimentary. Agriculture, everything is rudimentary. Everything is limited to, we have limited new technology. Static society, which is what describes us now. We're static, we're not moving anywhere. So, we're stage number 1. Number 2 is where you lay preconditions for takeoff. This is where you have commercial exploitation of agriculture and extractive industry. We are not doing that. Our agriculture is still very basic. Our extractive industry is, we are using fingers to extract raw materials. Foreigners are taking them from our bushes. So we have not prepared ground for takeoff. This is where you install physical infrastructure, road infrastructure, rail network, shipping line, telecommunications. These are the political elite. What political elite we have? Jobbers, they are just political jobbers who have nothing doing but making noise all the time. So we don't have even the elite that understand that politics is about service and not loading on people. So number 2 is to create the infrastructural development. Stage number 3 is taking off where, note this, your investment in manufacturing must exceed 10% of your total income. So if I ask you now, what is the total percentage of our manufacturing? Manufacturing is dying in Nigeria. The likes of Dutola, and you may not even know them. The likes of companies are dying. Do you know that we're producing tractors in Bochi, Pujo in Kaduna, Texal in Kaduna? All this, they are gone. Whereas, if you want to be competitive at all, you must have those manufacturing going on. But how do you manufacture when you don't have the power? Manufacturing must exceed or must be at minimum 10% of your total income. Then you go to maturity, where you now development of wider industrial commercial zones. The last one, which is where Nigerians want to go, or most of them are, is the high mass consumption. This is where you have done everything. Your trade is in surplus. Like I said, the economy is 3 things: production, consumption, trade. Your trade must have a surplus. But Nigerians, 3 of them, are living in number 5, where they are consuming. Everything is being brought in. We're not producing, we're consuming. So Nigeria has to sit down and say, look, this is where we are. And for me, we're number 1, rock number 1. That's where we are. That's the reality. We're using hoes and cutlasses on the farms. So let's start and put ourselves together and say, look, there are 5 stages. This is where we are now. Let's begin from here. Let's be deliberate in our infrastructural development, not mouth. You say, infrastructure governor. But what have they done? So we have to put things that can reduce production. Production must be efficient. Otherwise, your goods will be more expensive to export. You cannot export because you can't make profit. So basic, put your house in order. Let's strengthen our institutions. Let's conduct credible election for once. Let's have leaders who have vision, who have understanding of how economy runs. Don't put people that are manipulating the system as economic advisors when they divert everything to themselves. So we have to know which ideology are we following. We have an ideology, an ideology we are pushing. Are we capitalists? Are we socialists? Are we communal? Where do we belong? We're all over the place. Absolutely. So it's a clarity of vision, clarity of ideology, and clarity of who we are. Then if we begin from there, we can go very far and quickly too.
Indeed, a lot to do. We need to do a lot of soul searching, like you rightly pointed out there. That's a very good advice, and I'm sure the government of the day are indeed listening to you as well. Let's look about. You talked about production. We are not producing anything. We're not a producing nation, but we are located in terms of our location. We are strategically located in Africa. I mean, we saw during the 2023 election so many candidates, came up with their plans and, of course, programs for the people. People who say they will take Nigeria from consumption to production. And there are also people, who came up with different ideologies, political ideologies on how to liberate the economy. When you're talking about moving from consumption to consumption to production in a country where the power supply is a very big challenge, in a country where access to there's insecurity problem, where there's access to even internet is also a major challenge. The broadband penetration is quite very low, still low in Nigeria at this stage in 21st century. What do you think should come first? What do you think we should do first, so that we don't end up putting the cart before the horse?
Very good question. Leadership. Our politics, leadership is the key. You cannot rise above your leadership. Period. Once we don't have visionary leaders, once we don't have leaders that we choose by ourselves, we elect them. And if they don't do well, we move them out. Once that is not there, you are not going anywhere. So we have visionary leaders. Talking about the power, do you know that some years ago, we spent $15 billion on Mambila, given to a foreigner that came with a portfolio, no office. Where is that money? So corruption is the bane of Nigeria. We're just playing about the thing. Corruption is the major. Corruption is a killer. You can't do anything because everything is destroyed by corruption. By now, Nigeria should have power efficiency, power independence. We should have enough. We have the kanjis of those days. So leadership is the key. But as long as we keep bringing this kind of politicians who all they do is to borrow money and share, we're not going anywhere. All the indebtedness we're involved, we have, what are we using it for? So leadership is the key. Sincere leadership. People that will come to provide services. People that will lead by example. Not people that will be amassing wealth and taking the wealth out of Nigeria. The way Nigeria is now, there's no way, we're not going anywhere until we have changed that political structure, until we have changed, become efficient. Look at the National Assembly. What are they doing? In Kenya, they are reducing their salaries. What are they doing? 2 houses. Look at the way we do budget. Budget is 90% of the current. Nothing capital about it. It's buying SUVs. It's buying generators. When the government is making provision for generators, you know that we have a problem.
Indeed.
You know that they're not trying to fix at all. They are buying SUVs because the roads are bad. You know that they're not fixing the roads. So this leadership, this crop of leadership Nigeria have been burdened with, should be swept out by whatever means to bring in people that are accountable, people that are serious, people that can provide the service, and not this kind of leaders that they're not going anywhere. They are too burdensome on us. Reduce the National Assembly, reduce the salaries, make it a part-time affair. Politics is not a business.
Right.
Politics is not a profession that you come into and begin to make money.
Right.
Corruption, all the money that have been stolen, all the money that the EFCs have been pushing over the years, if it's brought back to Nigeria, Nigeria will be a developed country within 5 years. So what is the outcome of those probes? So people know that they're not going to be, they'll be harassed for a while and bring some money out and they keep the rest. So we're deceiving ourselves. The way forward is to have strong institutions, not strong individuals. Judiciary must be functional. Politics must be clear,
All right.
and people themselves. Development of our intellect and our skills
All right,
will help us.
all right, doctor. Quite a whole lot passionate, appeal there from you there. Talking about, let's look at this, our second topic now, the significance of Nigeria joining BRICS as a partner country there, which is very, very key. BRICS have said that Nigeria admission is based on convergent interests as a West Africa country allies itself with emergent bloc, according to that statement there. What is the importance of Nigeria? What do we stand to gain as a partner member of BRICS?
I mean, if I can just make you sad, we're not gaining anything. Nothing gaining. Nothing gaining. I mean, that's it. Look, BRICS BRICS is it's a natural counterbalance of IMF and all that. BRICS is like China versus the West. That's it. So it's made up of this Russia, where Russia and India and China is that what you want to identify with? Well, you can quote the statistics that, well, BRICS has a membership that's made up of 40% of the global economy, 55% of the global population, 45% of GDP. It's a political economic bloc and partner, and the aim of any regional integration is to make business easy. Now, the problem is elimination of trade barriers, aligning monetary fiscal policies. Look at the objective look, even take from objectives. Economic cooperation. Now, if you are joining a cooperation, it must be on equal terms. Number one, Nigeria is not an emerging economy. Nigeria is a developing economy. People should understand that. We are developing. We're not emerging yet. Emerging economies are people like Brazil that are already producing aircraft. Brazil is already producing aircraft. They export beef. They export livestock. It's almost a developed economy. We're talking about China, that is the world manufacturing hub. These are emerging. So Nigeria that is developing, that has no electricity, Nigeria has no political definement, no ideology that is defined. We want to join them. So the economic cooperation will be at our advantage. Politically, they are seeking to enhance the coordination among all the global issues of global structures to give emerging economies stronger voice. Now, like I say, we are not emerging, we are developing. Then the cultural exchanges, technology, innovation, collaboration, sustainable development, and promoting peace and security. South-South cooperation, that is all in the interest of China and Russia. Why do they want Nigeria? Let me tell you now. It's because our natural resources, like you mentioned, our agricultural sector, they are interested in those areas. Our natural resources are being exploited. We don't know how much crude we export. In fact, we're not exporting gold and all that. I'm not sure we do that kind of thing. And yet we're endowed with those things. Chinese are already in our bushes. So they're targeting the growing middle class of 300 million people. So they're strategically positioning themselves. So if you talk about the benefit that should come, I'm talking about benefit that should come, not the benefit that we will get, is Nigeria will anticipate that there will be increased trade with nations. Now, increased trade meaning what? What are you trading? What are you exporting? That's it. Is there going to be a trade surplus? You're talking about investment influx. Okay. Are they going to, how many investors have come? Right. Nigeria should be attracting investors now because we are virgin, but rather we are taking loans from China. Loans we don't even know the terms of the contract because they are written in Chinese. That's how unserious we are. So, investment cannot come when there's no security. Investment cannot come when there's legal risk. Investment cannot come when there are so many risks stacked against investors. Investors will run to where there's enabling environment, where there's infrastructure, technological advancement, enhance global influence, all this stuff. So, we cannot attract investors if our house is not in order. If the institutions we are seeing are that weak, if there's so much
Doctor,
level of corruption,
Doctor, let's look
if
at
the legal
Nigeria as a
justice is not
country. Nigeria
rectified.
as a country is a very ambitious country as well. We want to be a big player in global politics. Don't you think being a member,
If you want to
a
be,
partner member of BRICS is a kind of like, giving us incentives with regards to diplomatic policies?
well, look, the way to go about it, like I said, there are factors that influence this is global competitiveness. Global competitiveness it's all about this. It's about comparative advantage. So don't think you go into that club and all of a sudden China will be doing exactly what it's still doing, bringing in artisans, plumbers into that economy. China is establishing police stations in some African countries. China is trying to colonize Africa. Nigerian businesses cannot compete with Chinese businesses. Why? Because all big Chinese companies and businesses are government owned or backed by the government. So if Dangote want to compete with a counterpart company in China, it's wasting his time. If Air Peace is competing with the airline in China, you're wasting your time, or with the UAE, all these people have government backers. So we are going to this place as on equal partnership. So for us to be serious, there's cost factors that can improve competitiveness. Producing in Nigeria, is it cheaper? Quality of innovation. What innovation have we put in place? High quality product innovation. Do we have them? Do we have investment research in Nigeria? How many research institutes do we have? How are we funding them? And if you fund them, the researchers will take the money. We have infrastructure infrastructure deficit. We have government policies. Do we have favorable trade policies, tax incentive regulation that can boost competitiveness? Do we have stable political environment? Do we have legal systems that are important in Nigeria? So we have to address these weaknesses. Credible election, strong and independent judiciary. Corruption must be destroyed. In China that we are going, if you are a corrupt officer, you are shot. You are killed. I mean, it's firing squad. Corrupt government official. In Nigeria, corrupt government official go to buy votes and becomes a politician. So these are the dichotomy. So they'll be laughing at us. We have to fix corruption, fix our infrastructure.
Now, let's see how it will impact on our relationship with America and, of course, Europe as well. Of course, as you know, Nigeria remains a reliable partner of US and, of course, many European countries. Do you see that changing soon with us, aligning with the BRICS countries?
Yes, definitely. You know, like I said, it's a fight. There's a paper I wrote recently. It's a fight between the West and the rest. That's it. But Donald Trump has just said that because one of the aims of BRICS is to have an alternative to the dollar. They are developing a currency that will fight at par with the dollar. And Trump has said he's going to put 100% tariff on any member that joins that group. So Nigeria, like I said, we're neither here nor there. Do we want America or China? It's binary, and the answer is binary. Yeah, it cannot. You can't be in the two. Either this or we are here. The answer is binary. So, do you want to come against America, where we at least send some of our stuff? So, with the Trump administration, Nigeria is going to be at disadvantage. Number one, if you join BRICS, you're going to put 100% levy. Number two, with government, with our only source of income being crude oil is going to be going down because Trump is going to be drilling. And the world is also they are moving away from fossil oil. They are going to cleaner energy. Saudi Arabia has left oil long ago. UAE has left oil ago. They have already diversified. But Nigeria is still hovering on crude oil. We are still on crude oil. we're not serious. Period. So America is going to be a wake-up call for us. Number one, to begin to look for and urgently other sources of income, because crude oil is going to go down. I don't know how what's the base of our budget this year. I don't know what. I hope it was conservative enough. Otherwise, we're not going to do anything.
$75
Then,
per barrel. That's the benchmark.
How much?
$75 per barrel. That's the benchmark for 2025 budget.
You're not going to get it. You won't get it. I mean, today is 77, right? What did you say, Jordan, when you were reading it? It's 77, and that's an improvement. And that's because of the weather. When the weather goes and Trump begins to drill, that's going to go down. Anyway, so America and the West is a fight, and we're putting ourselves in this fight. We will lose on both sides. So my overall advice is this: let's put our house in order. In fact, if we are doing well, they will look for us. If we have good political have election that is not rigged, if you have right leaders, if you stamp up corruption, because corruption, they know it. The money is here. The money, they are seeing the flow. So don't tell anybody that anybody render Nigeria. No. They know you more than they. In fact, we are playing the ostrich. They know us. They know the money is coming here. So they will not bring investment into you. So if you keep a house, Malaysia closed down for 10 years, incommunicado. But we're so lazy, we don't want to endure any kind of suffering for a period. Close up, become food, have food security, then begin to produce for surplus, begin to put your power in place. Let all government houses sell off their generators. Generator dealers are the ones killing electricity in Nigeria, if you don't know. So if federal government is budgeting money for electricity, for generators, you see how unserious they are. If they're going abroad for medical services, you know how unserious they are. If they're sending their children abroad to read history, to read philosophy and law, you know how unserious we are. We're not very unserious.
We're almost out of time.
We're very unserious.
Absolutely. Well, people will still argue with you whether we are serious or not, but we're almost out of time.
But
I
not
want to give you at least 60 seconds or 90 seconds rather to speak about your state government. The governor just clocked 1 year in office. He's done quite a few that what he can do for the people. Some are singing his praises. Quite a whole lot that needs to be done. But you are a Nigerian, of course, a Kogite in diaspora. What do you think the government of the state should do to move the state forward? I believe in providing solution rather than criticism.
Yeah. The government should empower the youth. In fact, I've even offered to help. Look, empower the youth. Make them functional. Train them on entrepreneurship and provide loans for them, stand surety for them, get all the youth engaged, begin to produce. If they are engaged, all this idleness will be gone. Engage the youth, develop them, empower them, then begin to attract investors, have an investment summit as soon as possible, and tell people how Kogi will be beneficial to them. You sell yourself, you market yourself. I don't see that happening yet. So we can market the Kogi State because to anyone and they'll buy because we are the best. Kogi State is actually a microcosm of Nigeria. Everything is here. So market Kogi State, bring investors, give them sign CFOs, sign order for them. Just sign. Don't look for money from anybody. Come and do business. Give you tax breaks. Tax breaks, but do business. Employ my people. Employment will be, people are looking for where they can do business. No high tax, give tax breaks to attract investors to your domain. Begin to create things that, for example, tourism is one strong way. If you have tourism in that state, people will come in. Develop a hotel. There's a state hotel that was broken down. People need to come from all over the country for conferences. You have to have something that will bring people to the state, and investors can do that. All I'm saying can be done without your money.
All right.
Bring investors, come and build a 5-star, a 10-star hotel. This is the land. Period. Come and put generator here and collect money. Period. Come and develop local roads.
All right,
Take
Dr.
tolls.
Sam
Just
Omale.
government is about leadership. You don't need money today. You will not take loan to do what I'm saying. All I'm telling you now, you need loan. So government should begin to be government and not this politics.
And of course, see Nigeria work, and of course also seeing your state work as well. I see the passion in you there. I must thank you for your time. Dr. Sam Omale is the president CEO Rock Global Investment Network, speaking to us all the way from London, United Kingdom. I must thank you for your time on Business Daily today.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right. With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akogun.